Hi, my name is Frankie. First, I'll be talking about the scalenes, specifically the anterior scalenes. It originates on the anterior tubercles of the cervical vertebrae, the 3 through 6. The middle originates on the posterior tubercles of the cervical vertebrae, as well as the posterior scalenes. It inserts on the first rib. The middle inserts on the first rib as well. Posterior inserts on the second rib. They do the unilateral actions of side bending of the neck and contralateral rotation. They also do the bilateral actions of, this is anterior only flexion, inhalation, and expansion of the rib cage, and protraction of the neck. Sternocleidomastoid also does all the actions of the anterior scalenes. They're all innervated by the ventral rami, C3 through 8, and to stretch, you could do contralateral rotation and lateral flex, and you get isometric contraction. You could pull the head down, and then to strengthen, you just push the head up against gravity. Do that a few times. And also put your hand here as well. And for 3 points about posture, I really liked the dangers of the forward head. I thought that was really interesting. So, when we have forward head, our body compensates for the center of gravity by putting our upper body, shoulders back, and then our lower body, or our pelvis, anteriorly tilts. And I just thought that was cool with the connect chain and all that. And then also I thought disc pressure was really interesting. It's the lightest when you're laying down, gets a little heavier when you're side lying, gets a little heavier when you're standing, and it's the heaviest when you're sitting, especially when we have bad posture. I thought it's really interesting when we're heavy forward head. We have 36 pounds going on our lumbar spine, our cervical spine, versus when we have good posture, we have 12. And it affects the lumbar and the cervical spine. Then finally, a pelvic posterior tilt has a decrease in lumbar lordosis and an increase in kyphosis. And an anterior pelvic tilt has an increase in lumbar lordosis and a decrease in kyphosis in the spine. And I think that's really interesting, how the pelvis and the spine work together, and the kinetic chain and all that. And finally, how we sit. Sorry. So, putting our backs against the chair, retracting our head, pulling our shoulder blades down and in. We can also tighten our stomach with our transverse abdominis. We're also, to retract our head, we're using our longest cola and longest capitis. To pull our shoulder blades down and in, we're using our middle trapezius and our rhomboids major and minor. And for something I took away from, my favorite thing about applied kinesiology was probably, I thought it was really interesting. I loved learning about the muscles, but I also love at the end of the class, or at the end of the unit especially, I guess it's in my mind right now, the posture unit, how we learned how the muscles kind of functioned as a unit, and how, we are in exercise science, and we often think about it as rehabilitation science, but it's also preventative science and preventative medicine. Exercise is preventative medicine, especially with that forward head thing I was just talking about. And I have forward head, so I think about this, and it's easier to correct it before it happens, and then, after it happens. We think of it when it's hurting and not before it happens, so I think that's really interesting. Thank you.